For this independent practice, what you're trying to achieve is to see how long it will take you to save up for this dream car for 5,000 bucks. But you have a limited set of funds coming in, so it's going to take some time. So let's go ahead and use the balance that we've been working on and practicing, but I'm also going to show you some advanced formulas. And what we're going to do is we're going to look at the future value formula. This does take a little bit more effort, I do have to agree, than what you're used to, but at least it gives you an idea of what Excel can do for you. So let's just assume, it doesn't tell you when you're going to start, but let's just assume you're going to start your savings in the month of January. All right, and now interest rate got a little interesting. It's 3.25%, and some of us are forgetting to divide that by 12 because it clearly states that that's an annual interest rate. So what we have to do is we have to divide it by 12 months. 0.0325. See there? That's 3.25%. And then we're going to divide that simply by 12. And then that will give us our interest rate. And our beginning balance is our $250 that we've been saving up. Okay? So now we got to figure out what our interest payment is going to be on this $250. So this is another formula. Equals 250, and we're just going to multiply it by our monthly interest rate. So I'm going to earn 68 cents. All right, and so when we start, we don't really have a deposit. And notice we have no withdrawals in this program or this worksheet because we're not withdrawing money. We're trying to put money in and save it up. So we have no money that we're going to begin with unless you want to start with another January, like you work January. But we'll look at that in a little bit. So our ending balance is going to be our beginning balance plus any interest plus any deposits. Okay. Now let's go ahead and say that we have been working for the month of January and we've earned an income. So we are going to make a deposit. We worked at $160 per week. And we're going to put in half of that at the end of each month. So what we're going to do is we're going to do 160 times 4 weeks in a month. Some of us are forgetting to do that little formula. I personally like to put a little parentheses around here, but I think order of operations, they will multiply before divide, so it'd be okay. And we're going to just divide that in half because we're putting in half our salary. So now what we're doing essentially is we're saying we're going to take C2, our beginning balance, plus D2, any interest, plus any deposits that we make for the month. So I'm going to go ahead and fill this down because we're going to see how long it takes before this gets to $5,000. Notice when I pulled that down, the computer recognizes, hey, that's a month, so kind of keeps it going for us. So this January will be year 2. Interest rate, we're just going to pull this down. All right. Our beginning balance, this formula here is going to be a little different because now what we're going to do is we're going to take our ending balance from the previous month is the same as our beginning balance. Okay. And I'm just going to pull this down. Now you'll notice that nothing appears in here because it's trying to pull something from F3. There's nothing in there. So even though the formula is there, see how the formula changes? There's nothing going to be put in there because there's nothing there. But we're just going to go grab all of these formulas now and just pull them straight down. Our deposits are going to be the same. And once we hit this ending balance, everything changes. Now I just got lucky. March is at 5,100, so it's going to take me 1 year and 3 months to save up our $5,000. If you accidentally went too far, let's say you went like this, because obviously you wouldn't know how far to go down, it's okay because you could just say, oh, here's where I got to 5,000. You would take the remaining of this stuff and just hit delete. So the answer to the question is, how long is it going to take you? It's going to take you 1 year and 3 months. Okay, so that's how we've been learning to do this. Pretty simple. But let's look at our future value formula. What we have is we have variables now. N equals the number of periods you'll make a payment. So for example, if you go for 2 years, you want to multiply that by 12 months. Okay, so N is in the formula. And, you know, we'll have to put 2 in there just to see what happens. But that's essentially what we're trying to find. How many years and months is it going to make us, how long is it going to take? So we're going to do a little trial and error until we get close to the 5,000. And that's the number that we're trying to solve for. Payment, the amount of payments represented as a negative number. PV, the amount we will start with, our previous value, also a negative number because we're trying to figure out future value, and you'll see why we use negative numbers. And then the type, when payments are deposited. Is it a 0 at the end of each month or 1 at the beginning of each month? We're going to use 1 because we're just going to assume that we make these deposits at the beginning of each month. So this is a future value. So we've learned that we go equals for a value. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up here and go equals. Now we do FV because that's going to tell the computer, hey, we're going to do a future value investment. So the first thing is you're going to do is you're going to do annual interest rate divided by 12. Same thing we put in here. Could we easily just type in 0.27 because we already figured it out? We sure can. So you just click on that cell. Or let's say you're not even doing this, you're just doing future value. What you're going to do is you're going to do interest rate, which is 3.25%. You can actually type in percent just like that. Or you could do 0.0325, it doesn't matter. And we're going to divide that by 12, okay? And then notice now we separate these by commas, okay? So now I'm just going to go comma, right? And notice I get this little under bracket. It's saying, hey, we're going to do another formula. So the next thing we need to do is N. Now this is what we're trying to figure out, the number of periods it will make to make payments. We don't know right now because if we didn't figure this out, we were just working on this, we wouldn't know. So we're just going to make an educated guess. So I'm going to go 2 years times 12, okay? Just because that's what I kind of start with. Let's see what it comes up with. We know it's going to be too much, but you'll see how this works. All right, and then we're going to go comma, and then payment. So our payment, the amount of payments, our payments are going to be 320. Now, if you wanted, we could, do 160 times 4, divide that in half because we don't, again, we wouldn't know what our payment would be. And then comma, principal value. Oh, we got to put a negative in here. So I'm going to put a little parentheses and make that a negative value. Okay, so it's just like a math class that we learned. We're going to take 140 times 4, divide that in half, put the little negative out there. All right, PV, so is that we're on PV. The amount we will start with is also a negative number. So we start with $250 that we just type in because we know that that's what we start with. No space. And when payments are deposited, we're going to do it at the beginning of the year. Okay, and we just close the formula. All right, so we have our N in there. That's what we're trying to solve for, and then we just filled in the variable. So our goal is to get to 5,000. The savings that we have to start with was 250. Interest per year is 3.25. Payments, half of the earnings is 320. Oops, it's supposed to be 320. So I'll change that. All right, then we're just going to hit enter. Now, I have 8,000 as my answer, which is way too much because our goal is to get to 5,000. But remember here we said 2 years. Okay, so let's back this up to 1 year. All right, so that's it's not enough. So now we're just going to go back to like 1.1. Still not enough. 1.2. Still not enough. And 1.3. That will give us enough money. Now notice this is it's calculating it a little different because we're using future value annual interest rates. And this was using compound, but it still gives you an idea of how much time it's going to project for your future value. So go ahead, work this out right next to your compound interest table sheet, and then turn in both formulas. All right, have fun.